I grew up in Oregon, and the values I grew up with were took care of each other and you took care of the land. I grew up in a blue-collar household. My dad was a Teamster, and early on I learned the value of hard work. I went to the University of Oregon and studied journalism, but I had to work through college. I painted houses, I poured beer, I sold clothes, I did lots of things to work so I could make it through. But my college experience, as hard as it was back then for a first-generation college student, transformed my life. And I think that's what prompted me to write the Oregon Promise, which is our new law that provides free community college for all Oregon high school graduates. I want college to be there for everyone because I believe whether someone is studying to be a doctor or studying to be a welder, everyone deserves the right to reach his or her highest potential. We're going through some very difficult times in Oregon, but I've been at the Capitol during difficult times before, 10 years ago when people were losing jobs and homes were being foreclosed. We got through that. But today, more than ever, we need people with experience and people we can trust.
Hello, WEA. Your first question. What do you think the role of Secretary of State should be in post-COVID-19 recovery phase? Well, until 6 weeks ago, I'd been saying my first audit in the Secretary of State's office would be of the Student Success Act because it's so complex and because I want to make sure that all that money for schools gets into classrooms and doesn't get hijacked by the bureaucracy or by legislators. And while we can still do that audit, our world has obviously changed, probably forever, and a comprehensive COVID audit on emergency preparations is without a doubt my first order of business in the audits division. Among other things, I think we owe it to the people who have died in Oregon and to their families to be better prepared for the next disaster, whether it's a pandemic, earthquake, flooding, or an act of terrorism. Oregon should be better prepared. I think Oregon's response so far has been good, but there are certainly places where we were caught off guard. For example, the rickety 30-year-old computers at the employment department broke down with a crush of hundreds of thousands of claims. For weeks, people who had been laid off or lost their jobs couldn't get their emails answered, they couldn't get their claims filed, they couldn't get their phone calls returned. Well, it turns out that the department received federal money to upgrade those computers 10 years ago, and that the upgrade won't be ready until 2025. What? That's what I said. It made no sense to me, and we need to get to the bottom of that one because in the next crisis, I want everything to be ready, from computers to supplies to communication strategies. And it's one of the reasons I would establish an Office of Elections Cybersecurity in the Secretary of State's office. Right now, our vulnerability is with the database of registered Oregon voters. Experts tell me it is not secure, it is merely compliant with federal law, just like those employment department computers. It's fine until we have an emergency, but by then it's too late to discover we should have invested in better security. We know we are living in an age where elections are under attack from outside forces, so securing Oregon elections should be the top priority of Oregon's Secretary of State. Question 2. How will you bring the Office of Secretary of State closer to the private sector? Well, I think most of you who know me know that I've always worked in the private sector outside of my public service in the legislature. Most of my friends or co-workers are marketing people, business owners, advertising managers, media people. They're a part of my life. I also have a small real estate portfolio myself, and this is just kind of how I'm wired. I always joke that in real estate, I learned the difference between profit and loss, and I learned that profit is the better one. Again, I think here the audits function is critical. This is a constitutional duty to hold state agencies accountable for tax dollars, the same way the private sector has the mechanics built in to make sure money is being spent efficiently. This is a tremendously important division that gets little fanfare, is never in the news, but I intend to play a hands-on role in the audits process to make sure government is spending tax dollars efficiently. The Small Business Office in the Secretary of State's office is an absolute jewel. It's very popular with business. I wouldn't change a thing unless we needed to add staff to keep up with demand. And the rest of the business and corporation licensing operations in the Secretary of State's office are largely compliance operations, but they could be more user-friendly, in my opinion, and I'll make sure they are. Thank you.